Welcome back, folks, to the WP-Tonic show. This is episode 485. It's our round table show. Normally, you can watch us on Facebook live at 8:30 a.m., but unfortunately, this morning, Facebook wouldn't allow me to push it to my WP-Tonic page. I apologize, listeners and viewers, but obviously you're listening to this, so you managed to get your dose of the round table show. I've got a powerful panel. I think it's going to be an interesting discussion. I've rounded up some interesting stories. I'm going to let the panel introduce themselves quickly. Adrian, would you like to quickly introduce yourself to the new listeners and viewers?
Hi, everybody. My name is Adrian. I'm the CEO and founder of Groundhog. We build and produce marketing automation plugins for businesses that use WordPress.
And I've got my friend Spencer. Spencer, would you like to introduce yourself to the listeners and viewers?
Hey, it's Spencer Foreman from launchflows.com.
Right, and I've got my friend Chris. Chris, would you like to introduce yourself to the listeners and viewers?
Hello, I'm Chris from Lift Your LMS, and I help course creators create, launch, and scale from their WordPress website. I also have a podcast for course creators called LMS Cast.
Yeah, it's great. And I've got Vito. Vito, would you like to introduce yourself to the new listeners and viewers?
Sure. So I'm Vito. I'm the founder of WP Feedback, where we help WordPress professionals communicate with their clients and with their peers.
That's great. And before we go into the main stories, I'd like to talk about one of our sponsors, and that's Launchflows. And what does Launchflows do? Well, basically, if you need Launchflows, WooCommerce, and your favorite page builder, preferably Elementor, and then you can build world-defeating funnels for yourself and for your clients, funnels for your WooCommerce store, funnels for your learning management system, funnels and funnels and funnels. And you're not restricted like some other services. You can just keep on building funnels until you die. And it's just amazing what it can do. So if you are looking to build real quality, fantastic funnels, go over to Launchflows, have a look at the product. And they've been generous. They're given a 25% discount for you listeners and viewers of the WP-Tonic show. All you have to use is the coupon code WP-Tonic Rocks. I repeat that, WP-Tonic Rocks. And then, like I say, you get 25% off, and then you can start building those funnels for yourself and for your clients. Before going into the main stories, I had another panelist turn up. She's a little bit late, but I'll forgive her. That's Sally. Sally, would you like to introduce yourself to the listeners and viewers?
Certainly. My name is Sally Getch. I'm here for the vocal contrast because I'll be the only person on the podcast you can be absolutely sure who's talking without looking at the video, except maybe Jonathan and Vito. Yes. The rest of y'all, you got to do something to distinguish yourselves.
I'm not going to reply. The mind boggles, actually.
There's so many things I could do right now. So many books come to mind.
I'm not even going to go down that road. So let's start with story one. Proposal to move WordPress theme review process to GitHub. What did you think of this one, Spencer?
Well, I remember back in the day, the theme review team, I knew originally at least a couple of them, and the theme reviews were necessary because themes did form and function, and they were important, and they're just not. In fact, the conversation that I have most often nowadays is trying to describe what a theme does in WordPress is like, look at Chris well, Adrian normally, but look at Chris. It's like that thing behind you, that whiteboard with magnetic, that's what a theme is now. It's essentially like a layer that I'm not really sure you really need, but we technically need to make WordPress work to stick between the WordPress and your page builder. And that's it. So to be honest, I think that what we should really be talking about is like, can we just deprecate themes altogether and just call it what it is? It's the WordPress backend, page builder, and then the thing. But as it is right now, I like the fact that things being on GitHub are more transparent, because when I did know the people, and I won't name names, but some of the people on the theme review team have gone on to better things. It's like the whole auto conversation again of politics and favoritism and who's in line. And it's like right now trying to get your COVID-19 relief thing, like why the corporations get their money, but the normal waitress and waiter aren't. Just too much politics and bullshit. I think that the whole idea is nonsense, because who really benefits from putting a theme into the repository now? It's only to get notice of whatever you're selling. Let's be honest.
What do you reckon, Vito?
I agree with the concept that, themes are for beginners at this point. That's how I look at it. But it's still a massive market, so it definitely needs to get some structure in there. I never submitted a theme for review myself, so I'm not really familiar with the process. But that's pretty much what I took from this. That
do you think it really is a big market still? I'm not being critical, but like, do you really think who actually gets any benefit from anything in the repository other than it sells them on their upsell? I mean, like to go buy the.
That's the market. It's a lead gen. Yeah.
I mean, perhaps having a theme in the repository is as Vito says, it's mainly a way to let people know that you have a premium product. But themes as a market certainly do still have a market, because, there are still all those there are still all those people who just want like to slap something up there and they don't want to tinker with it and lay it out. And
millions and millions every year.
Yeah, I mean, it seems.
What do you mean by that? Because clarify. Because for example, look at the theme like Cadence. Cadence has a whole slew of page builder stuff, and they've got the Cadence theme. But the Cadence theme is like Astra. It does what it does. It's a whiteboard, but by itself, nobody uses it. It's only after you start piling the stuff on top of it, like the magnets.
Well, there's still apparently lots of people buying all these themes from ThemeForest with a zillion plugins bundled in and all that stuff, because for some reason they go for the advertising and the bells and whistles and
same point though. That's
that kind of
you're buying the theme. You're not getting those for free in the repository. We're talking about the repository. I'm not arguing that there are people who will buy themes that have pre-made stuff baked in. I'm saying in the repository, you will never find something that by itself is worth the trouble of schlepping and digging through the repository, because they're only like, oh, it's just like a teaser.
I agree with that.
Or whatever.
Well, I mean, I don't look for themes there, although, and haven't done for a long time. So that, I mean, does it matter? And yet, Astra is one of those themes in the repository. There's a free version, and that's how people get to know it exists and to have that experience of having a good canvas on which to paint with their page builder or their Gutenberg blocks.
But themes? I think we're looking at it from the point of view of pros working in the space, but that's not the experience for maybe even most of WordPress users. They're just like, they need a theme, so they will find the theme tab in the system that they already have and look it up. They don't know ThemeForest exists.
Themes.
That's probably good.
I'm gonna interject for a moment.
I would agree on that as well.
Themes. I don't think themes are what needs the most attention. I think the opportunity for product makers and people looking to build up on top of WordPress industry is really in the product space, in the plugin space rather, not necessarily the theme space. And I think that the WordPress team should invest more time in making that process clearer and easier. There are 1,000 ways to build a plugin for WordPress, and some of them are better than others. But there's very little solid education on proper conventions, proper structure, proper development practices for people who build plugins, and they're also not really super enforced via the plugin review team. I mean, I've submitted several plugins to the WordPress repository. Each took less than 3 days to get uploaded. And the process looks like this. You upload the repository, you get an email back with all of the things that are wrong with it. And then you go through the email, right? It's not like you can check mark it's done, or there's no software associated with that. It's like an email just with all of the bugs. And then you go through and you fix all the bugs, and then you send it back, and then, they check if those bugs were fixed. And if they were, great, you're in the repository. But there's no like automated testing. There's no, they don't check for like code structure guidelines or anything like that. They're not like, hey, listen, you should really be moving towards like a 7.1 PHP compatibility level via like a 5.3. So
be
I
honest,
feel like investing more time in that area would encourage more people to invest in building plugins
Yeah.
and products that will be useful in the future versus burying more money into the theme market, which I think with Spencer has limited time left on this earth.
However, I mean, the point of the article is not should we have themes, or but is how should we go through the process of reviewing themes?
I think plugin review should be moved to GitHub via just the
Right.
email
Well,
back and
maybe
forth. That would be a much more valuable system.
Maybe they want to practice on the themes first.
I just want to
Plugins are more complex.
I just want to put something to Chris. Actually, they're saying this, Chris, but the reality is you would love loads more themes designed with Lifter LMS in mind, wouldn't you? As you would love that, wouldn't you? So there's definitely still a demand for people around themes designed for specific purposes, like for a learning management system or industry specific, isn't it? I feel.
Well, I think my philosophy is I like to put my customer at the center of the business, not my product. And my customer who's building a learning management system or an online course or training-based membership site, they need an LMS plugin, they need a theme, they need some cool blocks, they might need page builders, they might need training, they might need a service professional to help put the site together. So there's a whole spread of things they need to be successful. Currently, themes are on the table for every single WordPress website in the world. So yeah, I think it's cool when themes integrate. I think the big mistake, I think there is a place for all-in-one general themes, but I think for whatever is left on this timeline for themes, having like niche themes, not just it's an LMS theme, but like this is a theme for personal trainers who are trying to teach and train and do coaching from home with at-home people that don't have workout gear. Now that's a theme that speaks to a very specific person.
Okay, but how do you build
problem.
a theme specifically for that person? What is it that theme needs in its themeness? I mean, for a lot of quote specialty niche themes for businesses, basically the main thing is they have pictures associated with that business. With something like LMS or e-commerce, the theme has styling made to work with a plugin to display it in a consistent way.
Well, I think there's a like there's a certain style. Like if you look at the workout dudes with like ripped abs and it's like they're black websites and big like sharp fonts and stuff, there's like a particular style for that particular type of industry, whereas like a yoga, more feminine like theme could be completely different. So
branding is really what it comes down to a little bit.
What?
Branding is a huge part of that.
Yeah.
Right. And your branding is really about your own business. So that kind of gets back to what Spencer says about, you want something that's in a lot of ways a blank canvas, and you can say, hey, I want to be the these kinds of fonts and these kinds of strong colors and so on. But then when you apply them, you want to be them to actually apply to everything that you need them for.
But not every WordPress. Not every WordPress user can. Yeah,
no,
not every
and that's the thing. Not every WordPress user can. Although not everybody who is a yoga teacher or runs a gym or whatever is building their own website either.
Yeah.
Yep. Right. Let's go on to the other story because we can go on forever. The only comment I would say is I think the thing that's kind of diluted the whole situation is like Alameda, they've got this one page landing page feature, which then you can put the same style over the whole website. So it's kind of diluting the whole thing, what the page builder does, what the theme does, what Astra, I was looking with Spencer with a kind of starter theme from Astra last week, and it did some really crazy stuff. So it's all up in the air at the present moment. It'd be interesting to see how this really pans out in the next year, really. On to story 2. Jack Dorsey vows to donate $1 billion to fight the plague, the virus. What did you think of this one, Chris?
I think it's a good move. I think in society, when we have people that are, the uber wealthy that like hit all the right notes at all the right times and put in a lot of hard work and built these gigantic, masses of wealth. There's only so much money one individual needs. And, working on the problems of the time in the same way Bill and Melinda Gates did with the Gates Foundation, I think it's really important. And I love that he's championing not just the coronavirus, but the universal basic income. I think it's a strange thing in the United States of America that there's not like this floor of like standard of healthcare that is accessible like it is in Canada and many other countries in the world. Me personally, I'm for universal basic income, and I'm glad to see a tech leader stepping up and helping focus on that. And I think the coronavirus, particularly with its economic impact and as people start losing jobs and stuff like that, and the struggling middle class and everything, there's never been a better time to open up the conversation and start working on a minimum healthcare standard so that as a society, people have that safety net.
Yeah, I've got such mixed feelings of the type. I think Jack has shown a bit more leadership and a bit more common sense than a few in the kind of Silicon Valley bubble that haven't shown any kind of real leadership apart from stuffing their wallet with as many $50, $100 notes as they can get their hands on. I have a problem with these people like giving a billion here and a billion there, and I'd rather have them just pay their normal taxes. But I don't know. What do you reckon, Spencer?
If I read between the lines, and again, I'm not a fan of any of the billionaires per se. I like what certain billionaires do. I'm not a big fan of Jack Dorsey or Twitter or what they're done, and his own reputation is nothing I can say to personally, but I've read it does not paint a glorious picture of his altruism or his way that the company treats even the homeless people out in front of his building in Market Square in San Francisco. I read that he says he plans to donate. And the immediate response that my brain gives me is a sort of Marie Antoinette kind of a thing. Like, if I was a billionaire right now, I'd be really, really worried about my PR, because he's out there, he's exposed with, the various things that he's doing is like, why are you hogging the money? Whereas a Larry Ellison is like, hey, F you. And that's the way he's always been.
What about Jet?
Dorsey, well, I'm saying Dorsey sort of walks this line of like, I'm amongst the people kind of stuff. And so the problem that really without being long-winded, I've been reading other things that are going on. Like, for example, in Britain, how they're burning the 5G cell towers. And then there's a thing that says, why are rich people afraid of pandemics historically? It's because when the pandemics kill all the working class people, and when you've got the disparity we have now that shows like how, the rich got rich and the poor got poor, guys like him have to really be worried about how they can go out in public unless they take a stand. And look what's happening to Bill Gates right now. I don't think Bill Gates is an angel. I think his acts in the 90s make him clearly the Mark Zuckerberg of his era. But I don't think what he's doing right now is necessarily conspiracy theory or anything trying to lock us all up into, mark you with the chip. Yet he's got to make these comments where he's like trying to offer his money to solve a problem, and half of the people respond with like, oh, it's you're this and that, you're trying to enslave us. Dorsey's not doing anything, and yet he's sitting on a pile of cash. So long story short is, I read this kind of like, we won't hear from him again. He said he's going to do it. He's not going to do shit. Bill Gates is actually doing some stuff which causes controversy because people think they're getting enslaved. I would love to hear what's Bezos doing, because
I don't want any. I don't want
Well,
any.
we did hear what Bezos. Well, we heard what Bezos said he was going to do. I mean, this is the thing. I think in a lot of these cases, we've got people saying Bezos said he was going to donate 100 million to food banks, and then Oprah did. But it's like, well, have they done it yet, or not? I have known people who are like they make a big splash, yelling about how much money they're going to give to something, and somehow the check never shows up. Now, I would hope there were some people out there accountable, wanting to keep people accountable for this kind of pledge.
I would say with Bezos in particular, not to take it off of Dorsey, but Dorsey with Square, you can make the infrastructure of Square available. Don't charge fees for like the next 6 months or something, right? Do something tangible with the service you have. With Bezos, it's so clear. How about Amazon's whole shipping process, which is the best in the world, be used to deliver some masks? Like, I don't understand, 4 months later, there's only 360 million Americans or something rough about. Why is it that they just haven't gotten everybody one mask? I mean, like, as a basic premise, couldn't we have all just, as a demonstrative act, even if it didn't serve a practical purpose, just used Amazon to deliver one mask per every person in America? Because they've got the trucks, they're driving around the neighborhood all the time. Couldn't they have just said 3M, DuPont, whoever, make 360 million maximums, all of you, and distribute one to everybody as a confidence gesture that we're going to use what's here?
Even
Amazon,
with your Amazon order that you already ordered anyway, just throw in a mask in there could have been a nice gesture.
right, Vito, I'm saying, like, does a day go by that you don't see an Amazon truck? Like,
No.
literally. So that's how Amazon, and meanwhile, Amazon, again, I love them and hate them. How is it that they paid zero taxes on $1 trillion of revenue, and yet we can't get them to deliver a mask when the guy's driving around the truck every day? That's the kind of stuff that in the society we live in, this article reflects to me what our problems are. That one douchebag, Jack Dorsey, can sit there and say, oh, I plan on giving $1 billion of my dollars away while he's walking around in skinny jeans with his girlfriend, and everybody else is eating cake. Meanwhile, why don't you just do it and then tell us you did it, instead of saying you're planning on doing it and it never happens?
Yeah, I see your point there, actually. Yeah, I thought you'd been, but I do understand where you're coming from. On to, what should we do? Go on to the next story, or should we go for, let's go for the next story. How to offer multi-year contracts that make sense. And that's from Chris Mayer, Chrissy. And who shall start? Shall I start with Sally? Sally, what did you think of this one?
Multi-year contracts, not something I've actually thought about. I mean, it seems to be a perfectly sensible kind of suggestion and advice about, how to do this, to set this kind of thing up in a way where, if it turns out that, something changes and the plan you've agreed on for service is not suitable, that you can adjust it. And really, any contract should come with some kind of clauses that say, you can agree to do something different if it isn't working, and the terms on that. I don't know whether it's something I'm going to attempt to do at the moment. I'm just like, so busy just doing my work that plotting it is more difficult. But I would guess that maybe the plugin people have more experience in this area of how setting that kind of thing up works, and what pitfalls there might be.
Yes. Adrian, you wanted to say something?
Yeah. So for anybody who's not like super experienced with multi-year contracts, first, it's when you offer a discounted rate on whatever your regular rate is if they purchase for an extended period of time. We offer licenses for $40 a month paid annually. So if someone were to say, I was like, well, what if I pay 3 years up front, right? Can you give me a discount? It's like, sure. If you're going to pay 3 years up front, then instead of $40 a month, we'll do it for $25. Something like that. That's how a multi-year contract works. And the article was saying, well, that's a really interesting way to do business because it provides a lot of incentive in order to kind of lock people in up front by providing them a great discount, but you're able to collect that, 3 years worth of revenue up front and use that to fund, whatever else, development and so have you. And Bluehost, I know, is a hosting company that does this a lot. SiteGround does this. And they're great sales tactics because they can advertise like $5 a month hosting, right? But then you get to the checkout page and it's like, it's not actually $5 a month. It's $5 a month paid up front for 3 years. So your out of pocket is actually closer to whatever 5 times 12 times 3 is, which is a lot. And I know this works really well because people end up in my support queue and they say, this is my hosting company that's like really terrible, shared hosting platform for one of like these $3 a month, whatever, which is not a great host for a big WordPress site. It's not really where you want to be.
I know a great host.
I'm sure you do. And they come to me and I'm like, all right, well, I can't change now, so I can't use your product because I'm committed because I've divested myself of all this money. So now they're disappointed with their host because they won't let them out. So the way that you let people out of their multi-year contracts is by charging the difference of how much they've paid versus your regular rate. So if they've been on your service for 6 months and they paid, the whatever in advance, you refund them the difference of what that 6 months would have been cost at regular rate, and then additional extra fee, and then you give them the rest back. So that way you don't provide a full refund. You don't provide a refund only for your discounted amount, but your full rate. And that's an easy way so that they don't feel like they've been gypped. They don't feel like they've been cheated, and they don't leave with a bad taste in their mouth, but they're still able to pick up the majority of their investment and move somewhere else if they really, really need to. There's an opportunity for plugin providers, I think, to use this instead of the lifetime deal. And the lifetime deal, I know Vito is a big fan of the LTD. And
No, but
power to you.
Yeah,
I think the LTD is a terrible business model. And I think it creates a lot of it creates a lot of wealth and revenue in the short term. And now you are obligated to this person to do whatever their heart desires for the rest of your business lifetime. And that is not a good relationship. That is a take all, give nothing relationship from the customer's point of view, where they're taking and taking and taking and taking, and you can't take anything back. There's no give and take. When you're charging monthly or yearly fees, you're basically only committed for the year, and then, the customer then has to give, and then they can receive for that next year of their renewal.
I think.
Well, I think the people offering lifetime deals are partly counting on the number of people like me who, ooh, it's a lifetime deal. That looks like a good thing. And 2 years later, they've never used it.
I'm sure that's true for a lot of people. And I know of
companies. But yeah, you are at risk of the one person who is like super needy and yes, you're never going to get any more money out of them.
Absolutely. And I think the multi-year contract for plugin providers provides an opportunity to create the wealth of a lifetime deal, but for a specified amount of time, at which point you can start reaping the rewards of a regular renewal rate from them. And I think that the multi-year contract would be better than the lifetime deal. And I'd like to see more plugin authors starting to do that.
I'm darn well not considering a lifetime deal for my services. Thank you very much.
After reading this article, I'm going to get off the call and I'm going to start saying, all right, well, what's our customer lifetime value? We've only been in business for like a year and a half. So currently a customer lifetime value is whatever's a year and a half is. But projecting and doing the math and saying, all right, so how much can we realistically charge or give a discount on if they, commit 3 years in advance? Because if they're switching from something like HubSpot, which is already $1,000 a month, we could charge $1,000 for 3 years, and the obvious savings, the cost savings there are apparent. So certainly an opportunity for plugin providers. And I know Vito really, really, really went on to jump in on this.
Yeah. Can I let Michelle, we've had another panelist join us, Michelle. So what did you think of this, Michelle, this article?
I think the multi-year is a better idea for products and services. One thing I would keep in mind, if you do multi-year is in more service-based items, make sure you've got a really good terms of services clause set up for if they are in it for like a year and a half and then wanting to leave, of how you're going to refund them, if at all, or if it's because you're getting it at such a discount. Anything you want to cancel before the end of term is up is taken at a loss to them or something like that. So when you do get those clients who want, and customers who are wanting to, oh, I bought this lifetime, but I only used it for such and such, or I bought the services for 5 years, but in a year and a half in, I don't like it. I want all my money back. You can cut that off at the very beginning.
Yeah, thanks for that. So, Chris, have you ever been tempted, lifetime, you know, when you wanted the injection of revenue, let's say you wanted to accelerate the coding, you know, the feature runway, you wanted to hire more staff. Were you ever tempted to go down that route?
I've definitely thought about it, but I actually rely on one of my team members, her name's Kathy, to talk me out of that at any time it comes on the table. And the reason for that is the way we run our company and set up our economics in order to provide world-class support and do continued development, we need to not go upside down on what people pay versus the cost to deliver the product. I think an example of somebody who has done the lifetime thing well is Jack from WP Fusion. He has a lifetime deal on WP Fusion. Currently, as of this recording, it's $849 for one site, and it comes with only 3 years of support. So if you're that type of buyer who's not going to need the support and you plan on using WP Fusion for a long time, then it makes sense. So the lifetime deal, but 3 years of support access, I think is kind of a middle ground. Rolling it back to multi-year contracts, I think that is a very smart move to do with annual subscriptions in the WordPress space for anyone looking for expansion revenue based off of the, you know, their power users, happy users that aren't going anywhere, and they just want a little more value, but you're not giving up that recurring revenue so that you can continue to grow and support your team as a company.
So, Vito, I'm going to let you end this. What
Right.
did you think about this?
So there's a few points. Like this. First of all, from the point of view of the lifetime deal versus these multi-year contracts, I would actually suggest that you would go for a lifetime deal rather than these multi-year contracts, and I'll tell you why. Lifetime deal, like you said, Jonathan, it's a great way of creating like an injection of cash if you want to take a new next step in the business or something like that. We used it as creating our seed round, you know, so that actually helped build a business from nothing to something that usually takes a couple of years in a span of 2-3 months.
I just want to say, I think at the very beginning of a business, it makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now there is no way of getting a lifetime deal, you know, so we kind of capped that with our funding goals, right? That was there was a clear strategy to why this happened. And also it was offered to a certain amount of users that, from research and from knowledge, I know that it's not gonna be a huge effect of our target audience. So there's still plenty of subscriptions to go around, even with those lifetimers on board with us. But as a new company, like Chris is saying, you don't know how long you're gonna last. You know, most companies don't last. That's the truth. And more than that, a lot of times, and I'm sure that, you know, each one of us look at our last 3 to 5 years, we've done something else. And so if we would have offered someone this kind of contract for years to come, let's say we would offer that through the agency of a care plan on a 3-year basis or anything, you're stuck. You're stuck in a business that maybe you don't want to do anymore, you don't like anymore, but you still have these contracts. With the value there is that you can actually sell them. You have an asset that you can sell. If you sell the agency with contracts, you're going to see a lot more revenue from that point of view. But to build it, I wouldn't have done it in my agency. Every 3 to 4 months, every quarter, you're kind of learning a new world as you're growing and as you're starting kind of a new business. So to commit, I get it for companies like SiteGround and GoDaddy and whatever, you know, that have been around for a long time. They already have their 1,000 employees that are there. They're not going to go anywhere. But for a new company, and especially freelancer or small agency, I think it's a bad move, because while Chris is suggesting that you would give your client a way out, not necessarily they would give you a way out. And then what are you going to do? If the business flunked in year 2, or let's say you were affected by Corona and you have to close your doors, you still have a bunch of people that paid you 2 years ago that you still need to serve now. You can't close your doors because you have a contract. With lifetime deal, it's the lifetime of the business. If the business fails, it's done, and we see that with lifetime deals all the time. What the right thing to do is to calculate it into the pricing. So the wrong thing with lifetime deals is to charge $40 or something like that, like AppSumo does. The right thing is, like Chris is saying, is to calculate what is the lifetime value that I'm actually going to be able to extract from a potential customer, reduce something for the longevity of that relationship, and that would be the price. The average that people need to consider is 4.3 years. That's the average of a digital business. The average lifespan of a digital business. So if the cost of a plugin is like $50, you calculate it, you time it by 4.3 years, $50 a year or so. And then you get your lifetime value without the stress on your part. If the business fails, or if you just decide to go and hang out on a beach in Bangkok, after Corona is done, then you can do it. You have no obligation.
Well, that's great. Chris is going to be joining us in May. I'm going to be interviewing Chris, and he's also
one more. Sorry, okay. One
oh,
more thing
right.
that I remember from Adrian. Another point was that you can't extract any more revenue from lifetime customers. That's very wrong. As a matter of fact, these people are invested more than any other customer that you have. So you're much more likely to upsell them with anything that you will create into the future.
I think that's a great point.
I
need to end it. We need to go for a break, actually. But I was just going to say, Chris is going to be joining us in May to be interviewed, and he's also agreed to join the round table in May. So Chris will be joining the round table show. We're going to go for our break, folks. We'll be back in a few moments.
We left Adrian charged.
We're coming back. I'm going to let he's biting at the bit, Agent. So I'm going to let him come back from the first half of the show. Do you want
there's no question that people who buy into a lifetime deal are more invested than other customers. I think that's true.
Yeah.
I think it's up to interpretation whether they'd be willing to invest more or whether they would feel entitled to receive whatever additional value you were providing, dependent on cost.
It depends on what you offer. With features, you're right, but with additional stuff.
Well, it depends on the person buying it too. But I think if you're offering the kind of lifetime deal calculated the way Vito is talking about, where it's not like a bargain basement thing that somebody's going to make an impulse purchase of, but it's still, if this is a thing you're envisioning using for, 4 or 5 years or however long, or using in a lot of places, or using that, that your business is willing to make that investment, and then you use it a lot. And so you're interested in possible extensions or, whatever, those people are probably going to be good lifetime customers. But if you're, if they got this deal for $50 and then it's like, generally speaking, the less you pay, the less you value something. Sure. And the more entitled, like the less people are paying you, the more entitled they feel. It's pretty astounding.
Right.
It's crazy.
Let's go on to story 4. Microsoft thinks the virus will forever change the way we work and learn. What do you reckon,
really?
Chris? What do you reckon, Chris? Do you think this is a turning point in online learning and the way we work and learn?
Absolutely. I'd like to talk about it in terms of before, during, and after. So before coronavirus, we're in it right now, we're in the during, and then there's the after. And to think that the after is just going to return back to just how we were before, I think there's no way we can't come out the other side of this without lasting change. in all kinds of things, from psychology, mental health, how we approach things, how the economy works. Yeah, so I think we're seeing a boom right now in telecommunications. So, Zoom is obviously on a rocket ship, and people are working remotely at a scale. The people on this call have been playing this game for a long time, and telecommuting and doing online business. But all of a sudden, everybody is now kind of on the field of play. So we're definitely way far out of the early adopter phase, and like this whole thing is going mainstream. Yes, some people will return to work. Yes, most people will turn to the regular school system and everything, but the world has forever changed. And I can't help but look at organizations, governments, business owners, and they look at how the world was able to adapt during these times, and they look at the overhead and the expenses of the office, of the campus, of the private school real estate, and all this stuff. There's definitely a place for in-person stuff, but I was just thinking about it last night, thinking about the college experience. If you can still have like a college experience and do most of your learning online and still live and hang out and party and do self-discovery and all this kind of stuff, but maybe not as much relying on the infrastructure of the university. I see the world as it is going to go back in a lot of ways, probably 80%, but there's 20% that's forever changed. And now that everybody's a user, I just have, what does that mean? I don't have all the answers, but when everybody has done telecommuting and some higher level of online learning, there's going to be rapid change.
I suppose it really depends on how long this emergency situation lasts, really.
That too. Yeah.
What do you reckon, Spencer? If this lasts a bit longer, then people are, thinking, it lasts more than another 2-3 weeks. It lasts for the next 2 to 3 months, stretches on and on and on. I think the situation will fundamentally change, won't it, Spencer?
I would say we're already there anyway, because even if, let's say, they gave the all clear tomorrow, nobody's going to be running out and hugging and kissing everybody. So I'm putting bets on August, September.
Yeah, you haven't met my neighbors who are still having parties every night.
or more than hugging and kissing. The reality, as Clarissa alluded to, is that the things that were being sold to people by those that benefited from them, such as like corporations saying that you have to schlep your ass into our office, or that, we absolutely can't figure out a way to pay for, a nationwide system of distributing healthcare or medicine, like all these stuff that, the lies have been exposed. Those genies will never go back in the bottle, which is good. But at the same time, the people who have been relying upon participating, even unwillingly, in those falsehoods are going to have to get their shit together and be entrepreneurial about like the new opportunities. So I have experienced myself many ups and downs where everything turned over. Almost every 10 years that happens to me. As an entrepreneur mindset, I look at it like, wow, new chance to be the first one in the first chair of the musical chair game. Whereas many people are like, I lost my number 3 seat and I was so comfortable, it's all over. I'm like, get your head on straight. Of course, life isn't fair. As I always say, a good day is one where nobody shits in my coffee. But at the same time, you now have an advantage if you think this way, that look, yeah, they took away your whole thing, but you never knew until that tornado came what was right behind it as your next chance. And with the new things that'll happen that are now democratized, right? Everybody's on equal footing when you're behind a Zoom camera in your living room or your house with the kids running around, right? Like nobody is so precious with their expensive studio and their crew of pampering people around them. Now you actually have a chance to become a
I wish I had a crew that was pampering me.
But like before all this happened, I can't think of his name because I have a little headache today too, but like the guy who made the radio show in his garage, who ended up interviewing Obama and all these other people, the podcaster, one of you guys help me out. But
Joe Rogan?
Rogan?
What is it?
Rogan?
Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's like a more, he was already on TV and stuff. The guy who ended up doing stuff in his garage, it escapes me for a second, but like he went from like mental health issues almost going to end his life to now he grew this podcast in his garage because something made him say, I have no choice. And I think when we're presented with that opportunity of like, hey, I got nowhere else to go but up, things will happen. And so from my standpoint, Microsoft and these other companies recognize they might as well get on board and support people in these new endeavors, because there's no way they're going to be able to continue to sell the lie. And another one too is we haven't seen the end of it, like the airline industry. No offense, but the airline industry was really taking advantage of all the handouts and other things they were given the last 6 million times around to screw people into the ground with like Ryanair and these people saying, well, the next seat will be stand-up seats. Well, now their planes are grounded. Boeing is going to go out of business and nobody's flying. I bet they're going to have to be a little more responsive to people's needs and wants for comfortable travel, even at a good price, especially if they're being subsidized. And those are the side benefits. So.
I gotta say one more thing that I love seeing, which is the pollution clearing over cities like Los Angeles, and there's like these before and after photography.
Well, yeah, I mean, on the one hand, we have less air pollution, and this is awesome. And on the other hand, we have a whole bunch of like discarded masks and gloves being scattered all over the place. It's you know, there's advantages and disadvantages. I think part of the issue is that this is not the work from home experiment you would have wanted, because a lot of people who might otherwise have been pretty happy working at home, trying to do it on no notice with their small children home from school is very different from, oh, I've been able to set aside a space as my office, and my spouse and kids are out most of the day, and you know, I've got my stuff here, and so there are a lot of people who are very frustrated and desperate to get back to the office, you know, not just for the social aspect.
Well, they're the lucky ones that got somewhere to go. What about the 6.5 million Americans that got nowhere to go?
Well, yes, and I mean, you know, and there are, of course, masses of unemployed people, and I don't think anybody would have wished that on the nation, and certainly not on the individuals in those positions. So I think a lot of people are getting, you know, the wrong idea about working from home in terms of its advantages, and they may be, you know, less willing to consider it if they found this traumatic. But, you know, at the same time, as Spencer was saying, you know, necessity is the mother of invention, that there will be companies that realize, hey, you know, we can do a lot of this, or, you know, not all our people can work remotely. I mean, I have a colleague who's a chief of internal communications for a construction company. I mean, obviously, you know, construction cannot all be done remotely, but there are people whose jobs could be done, you know, can be done remotely fairly well. And so, you know, I don't think we're all going to be the same, but we may be surprised sometimes at the ways in which we're different.
So, Michelle, you work for a company, and I think you're distributed, and I think you work remotely. I might be wrong on both parts. Do you think there's benefits, or do you think after doing it for a while, do you think there's some drawbacks as well?
There's definitely benefits and drawbacks to working in an office and working remotely. Like one of the biggest ones is like if I'm having an issue, it'd be so much easier if I could just walk 3 desks down to a developer and be able to show on the screen easier than having to pull up Zoom and all of that. However, on a business viewpoint, how much little headspace you have to run your business when it's distributed, than to have to pay for like the building and all the electricity and all that kind of stuff, is really starting to more catch on as well. But with the coronavirus and pretty much humanity as a whole kind of getting thrown into this remote distributed lifestyle, the big issue I see, which is good for technology, is that disconnect of human interaction is getting pushed farther and farther back. Just like Facebook just launched a new app for couples who can, you know, chit chat, quote, privately with each other.
There's nothing private.
Because I totally want Facebook under, you know,
yeah.
On the phone sex calls with the spouse. Yeah.
They know what privacy means. Facebook.
That was just like a meme waiting to happen. They like Facebook will manage your private sex life interactions remotely after Corona. Oh, please, Mark, do take care of that part.
Please take.
And then the best part of it is, while I do love Zoom, Zoom decided to talk to one of Facebook's previous heads of security to get Zoom's privacy issues fixed.
Just the right person. I just want to put this question to Chris, and then we'll wrap it up because I don't want this going on for War and Peace. Do you really think
we were just getting warmed up, Jonathan?
No, we will, won't we? But Chris, do you really think you can learn online as effectively as a interactive a person class? You know, you're in front of an instructor that really knows. Do you really honestly feel that online you can get the same result?
I think that's not the best question. I think you can.
It's a terrible question.
It's not an either or situation, and it's definitely an it depends answer. There's no substitute for one-on-one in-person mentoring and learning. However, there are situations out there where learning online is just fine and works quite well. So, and then there's the situations where you blend them of various ratios. It's a mix of in-person and online. So, yeah, I mean, I learn tons of stuff online all the time. My kids are in my house. They were already home. I'm a homeschooling dad. They're learning math online. They do all kinds of stuff online, and it's fine. They also go to in-person classes and learn music and dance and things like this. So both can work.
Yeah, I mean, what are you teaching, and who are you teaching?
Just for me. Sorry.
You know, I have a friend who teaches first grade. She's not finding the online instruction thing is working wonderfully, but for a lot of stuff, I think you can learn it as well online. But it's also like, who are you and how do you learn? Are you a person who learns well from lectures? Are you a person who needs a lot of practice? Who works, that the standard way that we've delivered education in universities works terrific for some people, and it's never worked wonderfully for all people. And so, it's like, well, teaching what to whom?
Well, I was being a bit controversial.
Well, yes, I know you're just kind of winding Chris up because you're feeding him a line.
I'm baiting. That's my purpose, to be entertaining, is it not? I think we'll wrap it up. We had a couple other stories, but we need to go on to our recommendations. So let's start with Vito. Have you got anything you want to push or recommend that's come on your radar?
Can I recommend the virtual summit we're running?
Yes. Off you go.
So at the end of the month, the 27th of April, we're bringing back the biggest online summit in the WordPress space, WP Agency Summit. Last year we had more than 2,000 attendees on Jan's kind of project that now was brought into WP Feedback. Amazing roster of speakers, amazing roster of sponsors, and and everyone is invited for free. We're serving multiple time zones, so it doesn't matter where you are. There's loads of awesome stuff to do. One really cool thing is that we're steering away from the, very basic and experience of virtual summit where it's just a series of webinars. So there is gonna be like the talks and all of that kind of stuff, which are gonna be awesome. But I am more of a hallway track guy. I go to these events to network and to create relationships. And that's a huge aspect that we're bringing into our summit with a bunch of innovative stuff and with all of the biggest brands in the WordPress space supporting.
So I'll give it support. I'll give it some more shout outs.
Awesome.
Spencer, have you got anything you want to recommend to the listeners and viewers?
I would say neverbounce.com.
All right.
It's free to use. I don't remember if they pay. I'm sure there's an upsell on it, but it's a real-time email verification. So essentially, if you're trying to get through to somebody, your leads, your customers, you got registration and so forth, you can use that to verify if an email is legit. or emails, and that could be handy. I've had a lot of people lately who will do a customer support thing, and then I respond and it bounces, and it's usually because like they haven't properly registered their domain name, they're using it for email and so forth. So it could be handy.
Yeah, that's true. I've had a bit of that recently. Sally, got anything you want to recommend?
Oh gosh, there's like a zillion things I could recommend in varying degrees of frivolity and relevance, but I am very excited that I'm taking a CSS masterclass with Rachel Andrew next week. Instead of having the smashing conference in San Francisco that they would have done, where it would have basically cost a month's rent to go to this workshop, they're doing it online, and it's $250, which is, not pocket money, but a lot cheaper. Yeah, much less than I pay for my rent, I assure you. So I will dig up the URL for that, and I believe it may still be possible to register.
That'd be great. Put that into the chat. I'll make sure it's all in the notes. Michelle, I know it's short notice, you might not have anything, but anything come across your radar that you would like to publicize? And
Actually, I do. They have changed the Giving Tuesday date to May 5th, which is less than a month from now. And GiveWP is putting out a free webinar on April 20th that is how to set up a landing page for if you are a nonprofit or club or organization wanting to do a Giving Tuesday donation form.
oh, well, I think you need launch flow. That's what you need. There we go. Adrian, got anything that's come across your radar that you'd like to put in front of our listeners and viewers? You're still muted.
There we go. I'm unmuted now. So I've traditionally been in the business of marketing automation and designing emails and then handing those emails off to a sending service to take care of it for us. I am getting into the email delivery business.
Thank God. Thank God. Thank God.
With a product called Mailhawk, which will be available.
I like the name.
Yeah, do you? So that will be available likely by the end of April. So looking very forward to making that available. It is an email delivery company focused on getting WordPress emails to the inbox.
No, I think it's a fabulous combination with Groundhog and your new product.
Would it be possible with Mailhawk, like, for example, when a user was added and they got a tag, that you just could say which email they got, and then that's all it did, because you could pay $20 a month and that was taken care of? Hint, hint. Because, like, I think all of my customers would sign up for $20 to $50 a month if that's all it did. Hint, hint.
There we go.
Sometimes the simplest answers are right in front of you.
They are. I think it's a fabulous idea, and obviously I will attempt to give it as much support as I can, Adrian. I think we've had a good show. If you want to support the show, I've missed announcing my bloody winner. I've been busy. I've been very, very busy, listeners and viewers, but I will be announcing it next week, the first winner of our prize. Gospel. I'm placing it on the top of my list. But if you do want to support the show, go over and sign up for our newsletter. I'm putting a lot more effort in the newsletter, making sure it's got a lot more interesting WordPress focused news, and it's got the top tips and recommendation from the panel from the previous month all listed out to you. So go up and sign for that. We'll be back next week. Hopefully the Facebook will allow me to push it, so you'll be able to watch it live as well. We'll see you soon, folks. Bye.
Bye.